everyone, I'm Brittany.
And I'm Jordan.
And we are entering Making the Cut. We're really excited about this, but as you can see behind me, it's a little chaotic because we're moving. And it's a big move, not a little move. We are moving from Massachusetts, where we've been for the last 14 years, and we are moving back to Utah. We actually built this home, and well, you built it.
And you designed it.
Yeah, I did design it, and we love it. We're really sad to leave, but we're excited about our new adventure in Utah. But this makes the competition thing that we're doing with Making the Cut a little crazy.
So our plan was initially really simple. We just pack everything up for the 27th. And again, today's the 24th, but recently we got an email from the Cut saying, hey, you get $50. You got to build, film, edit, and upload everything by July 5th, I think it was. And that's just in the middle of everything that we're doing. So it's pretty chaotic.
Well, you gotta build it. I'm not building it.
Right.
You're gonna build it. And he's gonna build something that I've actually been wanting for a while. It matches our table, it's really cool. So I'm really excited about it, and you're gonna do a great job.
Right. And remember, on June 27th, we're moving, which is in 3 days time from now. So
you gotta get on it.
Gotta get on it. Naturally, I gotta drop everything that I'm doing and try and build something for $50. The question is, can I do it before the moving truck gets here?
You gotta, you better.
I hope so. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys a build montage to speed run through the build because of the time constraint.
I figured I better jump right on it, so I got out my tools and I got to work. What you're seeing here is actually from 5 years ago when I cleared out my lot from these massive trees so I could build the home that I'm now selling and moving out of. To be honest, when I built the home, this was the funnest part of the whole process. Clearing out this lot left me with a lot of wood, so some of the wood I burned, but for this beautiful red oak tree that you see here, I took it to my local mill and I had it cut to dimensional lumber. So now whenever I need to make a project, I go to my wood stack and I get what I need, which is great because the competition wants us to spend $50 or less on materials. I think with my at-home lumber yard, I can probably build this for a lot less than $50. What's even better, my wife told me I wasn't allowed to bring my stack of wood with me across the country, so it actually worked out pretty good to use what I had left. I picked out all the rough sawn oak boards that I had, and I ripped them down to about 1.5 inch strips to start my build. As much as I liked my boards to have that rough sawn cut in them from the mill, my build needed the strips to be planed down to a smooth finish. What I decided to make for my $50 build is a Lazy Susan. For those of you that don't know what a Lazy Susan is, it's just a smaller table that sits on top of your regular dining table. It's designed to spin to facilitate getting food to everyone sitting around the regular dining table on which it sits. I didn't spend any time trying to make all of my 1.5 inch strips exactly the same height when running them through the planer. The only thing I cared about was making sure that the top and bottom surfaces were perfectly flat so that when I glued everything together, there wouldn't be any gaps between the boards. This actually creates a nice butcher block style look anyways, where the strips have slightly different widths and give the piece a little bit more character and variety. When you're building something like this, where multiple boards are being glued together, it's usually best to do your final sanding or planing after everything has been assembled into one piece. No matter how carefully you try and plane each board to the exact same thickness, you'll almost always end up with slight variations. Once the boards are glued together, you'll be able to feel those differences when you run your hand across the surface. Because of that, you'll need to sand everything flush anyway, so there's really no benefit to obsessing over getting every individual piece perfectly identical beforehand. Here, I knew the larger piece of my Lazy Susan wouldn't fit my planer, but I had planned on cutting it in half and re-gluing it back together. As you can see, I need to run these through the planer several times to bring all of the glued up pieces down to the same final height and create one perfectly flat surface. Back to my point earlier, I tried to get these two halves to be planed at the same thickness, but when I glued them back together, I could feel a different elevation between the two pieces that I had, and so I had to try my best to sand them down after the fact. Once glued, I used my Mini Harbor Freight bandsaw to make my radius cut. Here, I am installing the bracket temporarily to see if it's centered and to make my next step of routing and sanding the edge a bit easier. Probably the most expensive part of the build was this rotating Lazy Susan bracket. You can get it for $7 on Amazon, I'll link it in the description. Applying the epoxy was done in 2 phases. The first step, I brush it on and I am not too concerned about how it's applied. For the final coat, I take greater care of ensuring that it's level because I want a thick final coat to be evenly distributed across the top of my Lazy Susan. And this is the part where the whole project comes together. You're going to see here in a second that the tabletop that I'm placing the Lazy Susan on is identical to the wood of the Lazy Susan. Again, to reiterate, that is because both the Lazy Susan and the table came from the same red oak trees that I harvested while clearing my lot to build my home. Because I already had the lumber for this $50 build, I ended up building this build for way less than $50 from the challenge. So hopefully somebody's prepared to award me with a gold star sticker. The total cost for me was the $7 for the bracket and about $12 worth of epoxy resin. And spinning it for the first time, I almost get the pattern to line up perfectly right here, but not quite.
All right, and there you have it. Here is my final build. And we've got 90% of all of our stuff from our house ready to go be packed in the garage. And I'm going to make sure that this is the first thing that we pack up. I'm just kidding. I'm going to make sure it's wrapped up nice so it stays safe.
And before we say goodbye for now, here is a quick time lapse of us packing up our U-Haul truck.